All right, Fin fans. Dolphins have been all over the place. Highs and lows. Big news good, big news bad. But now we're in a stage where a lot of good news has happened. We're at a critical juncture for this franchise, for what's left of the previous regime, this new coaching staff that's coming. A window's been opened up for 2 seasons to really make good. At the end of this 2 seasons, by 2024, 25, this team is going to break apart because players getting older that are key players, second contracts, all this other stuff. So really the Dolphins have a 2, maybe 3-year window to really make hay. Now going into the season before all these huge moves, I had a floor of expectations. I'm going to deal with that another day, but I want to take a look at the roster as we head into the draft. There's still opportunity to increase this roster's talent pool, and it really needs to happen. There's still a few pieces that need to come in. The roster is good. It's not great. It's got great points, but then there's areas of concern where there's thinness and uncertainty. So Fin fans really need to have an honest evaluation of this roster, and that's what I'm going to try to do here. Is part 2 of looking over the AFC East, who the top contenders are, which obviously I've put the Bills as number 1 still, and Dolphins are, with all the moves they made, have to come in at least number 2, and then I'll be followed by another set of podcasts dealing on the Patriots and the Jets. But let's get into it. Dolphins made huge moves, creating very, very high points on this roster. Still, a lot of picks went out the door, but they have that late third, really early fourth, if you look at it, because it's a compensatory pick, and a 4th round pick to at least bring in one player that can contribute this season. It's very possible. Now, we'll dig into that at the end. Now, I saw early on how a lot of people were talking about we still need to draft a receiver. And I don't see that at all. This is the high point of the roster. I watched a Dudley Do Wrong video. I really, really like Dudley Do Wrong. I remember right after Flores was fired, I saw him on Big E's show, and they were both like just going along with like Flores, the worst guy in the universe. I got angry at him. I was like, what? And then I watched some of his shows afterwards, and he really did take an honest evaluation. He played both sides, and I really appreciated that. I really like Dudley Do Wrong. Good show. You should check out one of his podcasts. It's like the last 2, maybe 3 ago, about going over the salary cap and how we can still make ways to free up some money. I thought it was really informative. I learned a lot. There was things I thought I knew and I didn't. I think it really did a good job. It was a very well edited and very clear and concise video. So I would check that out if I were you, about the podcast. But one of the things he said is moving on from Parker, possibly trading Parker. I don't think that would be best for us. I think this high point of the wide receiver group needs to stay intact for many reasons. Now we got Waddle and Hill. Just Waddle and Hill alone. That talent level is the best level of receiving talent we've seen since the Marx brothers. And when you look at those 2 guys, they were phenomenal. And I'm not going to put what we have as far as production in their level because it's not there yet. But the talent level is equal. And when you add in Devontae Parker, when healthy, is an elite receiver when healthy. I don't want to move on from him. Cedric Wilson was a very good pickup. And so when you look at these 4 guys, this is a very, very high pool of talent. And then you add Williams, who people wondered why they brought him back, because he's a phenomenal run blocker. And if he can stay healthy and continue to grow and provide that run blocking ability and threat of going long, he's a quality player in this scheme. And then there's Bowden Jr. he really didn't get a lot of exposure, but if Fin fans go back in their memory banks, you'll see that this guy was electric and he can provide a lot. And I think that, you have Waddle, Hill, Parker, Williams, Bowden Jr., and Cedric Wilson. So that's 6. So I think they'll probably keep 7. Definitely 6, but probably 7, maybe 7. Of that group, then you got Core, Rivercraft, and Deadman. I don't know who they'll keep. But that's 6 right there. That 6 right there is a very, very talented pool. And that core needs to stay intact because it's all about obviously beating the Jets and the Patriots. We got to do that. But it's about beating the Bills. And the Bills, the one real weakness on their team is their secondary. They have great safeties at the top, but their defensive back unit, with White coming off a major injury, is the area where we have strong matchup advantage. Now, this depends on what they do in the draft, but we have to keep that arms race into our side and force them to continue to build that secondary up. But no matter what they do, I think unless they have some genius move with their pick and pick some guy who, corner who fell really late and turns out to be brilliant. Corners are notoriously difficult to get up to speed right away. Our receiving group should have vast advantage over the Bills, and this is the area where we need to exploit on them. So I really like that, and I don't like, even if it's a cash-saving thing, to get rid of Parker because he threatens them. Think back at what Parker has done to them. He's had very good games and very big plays. So then you go to the running backs. A lot of people want to draft a running back, and I kind of see that a little bit because Greer has strengths and weaknesses. Some people kind of forget all his misses. But one area he has been very, very strong in as a GM and has had his college scouting is consistently finding running backs late in the draft. Been a few misses, but he has had very good success finding backs later. So I could possibly see with that 3rd or 4th pick, or maybe even the 6th pick, that they could find a quality running back. But if you look at Gaskin, people still don't have enough love for him, but I think that you might find it this season because he's going to have a legitimate shot with this offensive line. And you got Chase Edmonds, very talented, very violent runner, but injury history. Savin Ahmed, who I like a lot, but is still a little rough in his pass protections, his receiving, and still a little impatient as far as his reads. But this can pick up. The kid's got loads of talent. And then Jared Dokes, who, he didn't get an opportunity last year because of his pass protection and his receiving. But I think his pass protection was a little farther ahead than his receiving. I think the receiving was the main thing. But this kid can run. I did a video, a film study on the kid. The kid's got talent. And sometimes it takes a year or 2. So I like the group that they got here. And I like it. A lot of people, I feel, overvalue running backs in this age. It's really about the offensive line. If this offensive line creates holes and creates space, this group is fine. There's very few backs that come out of the draft that are worth having your bell cow, investing heavily in them. Most backs are generally in the same area, and it's how you utilize them and, more importantly, what your offensive line is. So I'm fine with them going with this group. But it's the offensive line, as I say, over and over and over again. This is where the area where they need to add talent in this draft. But there are concerns. When you look over Greer's history as a GM, as part of the trifecta GM, and then as head of college scouting, he really struggles with this group. But the group has seen a huge talent boost with Teron Armstead, who... he does have injury history. It's hit or miss. He had 2019 and 20, I believe it was, that he had excellent health where he only missed a game or 2. And if we can get those 2, because his contract really kind of ends in 3 years. If we can get 2 years out of this guy that look like 2019 and 20, it will be a steal. The guy is super, super talented. And his ability to block alone, lead and teach will totally transform the rest of the offensive line. So this was an amazing pickup. He's the best guy to come in. He's better than Albert, but Albert was very talented. He was a very talented back, kind of came to us and started breaking down. Very talented tackle, but when he came to us, he started breaking down. But this guy is more talented. He's the best talent since long. So that's a huge pickup. And then Connor Williams, yeah, it is the holding and stuff like that. And I've already gone over that discussion. I like him at center, but I do like him at guard as well. Been really restudying the zone stretch. And I can see where he'll really play a strong part at guard. But finding a center and guard in that 3rd and 4th draft pick is very doable. And so the fact that he can play, he's even said he'll be able to play, he considers himself a lineman, the ability to play tackle, center, and guard. I don't think tackle is where he'll have a strong suit. Is if these two players right here create such stability like you haven't seen. I mean, if you give Williams the ability to block alone 65 to 75% of the time, and Armstead pretty much unending blocking alone, we're not going to be forced to be in 2 tight end set 12 personnel like we were last year. And it's going to transform everything. Now, Austin Jackson, Liam Eichenberg, Robert Jones, Little, Coleman, Pankey, Keon Smith, Kinley, these are big questions. Now, Robert Hunt, I think needs to stay at right guard because that's an exclamation mark. And we need as many exclamation marks on this offensive line to allow this, decent running back group to be effective because everything is going to be based off this offense. And this offense is going to be based on how well they run the football. All the receiving talent in the world is not going to have its full effect and do what it needs to do is get us to be a highly effective team unless we're running the football, and that's going to start with the offensive line. So we need a lot of question marks reduced and exclamation marks just stamped in. So Teron Armstead at left tackle, Williams at left guard, and Hunt at right guard are 3 exclamation marks. Now the question comes at center and right tackle. And Eichenberg, I think, might be able to grow. Little short arms, little tentative, a little uncertain, a little slow in his step, not really heavy punch, but maybe we can get a change in that. And Robert Jones, who the next video after this is going to be a film study on him, is a very interesting player. Very big talent tools. I mean, this guy is a monster as far as his strength and his size. Still raw from what I've seen in the film, but I've got to really sit down and let it marinate before I come to a final decision. But he is an intriguing prospect. Problem is, though, he plays guard. Tackle, I don't like him at tackle because he'd have to play right tackle, and you don't want to his blind side to be a guy that's that raw, and you want some more stability there. So, I mean, we could see Hunt kick out and Jones slide in, but Hunt concerns me too because his first 2 seasons he has mental lapses where he misses swaps and switches and lets defenders run and clean. And a lot of that is minimized inside. So it'll be interesting. But, I mean, we could see possibly Connor Williams coming at center and then Robert Jones play left guard or right guard or, whatever the case may be. I don't really see that because it's a little bit of chance. But it's this center and tackle spot that really, and I don't see Kinley filling it. It's Keon Smith, Pankey, Coleman, maybe. Little, hasn't proved it yet. So this is where we need to add talent, and this is where it's all going to be based on. But if we can get a decent offensive line that can run block and pass block semi-effectively, this skill group is going to loosen up the pass rush and lighten the load on a questionable offensive line and enhance their production. It's just we have to get to that point. We have to prove that we can block, pass block well enough and run block well enough for teams to have to creep up on that line and not constantly play nickel and pass coverage and all this other stuff, which will limit Waddle and Tyreek Hill and Parker. No matter how talented they are, if a defense does not fear one part of your offense, it can focus on the other part of your offense and limit them enough to really be a pain in the rear end. All right, so then we got the tight ends. Hunter Long, big question. He was terrible last year. Didn't show anything to be drafted third overall in the third round. But he's young. Could take him a year or two. So we need to see something with him. Mike Gesicki was a great pickup for us. Can really do damage, especially in that play action in that middle part of the zone, middle part of the clock. But his blocking skills, I like him on the move. He's a lot better move blocker than he is a drive blocker. I think McDaniel's going to put him in that situation. But still, when you go back and you look at San Fran, they got two tight ends that can block. They can move block or drive block. Durham Smythe, he's okay. Adam Shaheen doesn't get enough love, but this guy is our best pass blocker and run blocker by far. And he can still be a threat. He's a big guy. He's like 270. And it kind of gets lost in the scrum. This guy is a key player. Ethan Carter, So my concern is, are these tight ends going to be able to block well enough? I think as long as Adam Shaheen is in, we can do it. But if he goes down, there's a lot of question marks. Then we got quarterback, Tua and Teddy Bridgewater. To me, Jimmy G was able to do a lot of work. And he was just a steady Eddie guy with a good brain. Teddy Bridgewater can pretty much almost get to that same level as Jimmy G. Tua, he has the potential because of his quick release, his mobility skills, to take that to another level. So I'm not really concerned if Tua is replaced by Teddy Bridgewater or if he plays slightly above Teddy Bridgewater, because McDaniel is able to generate a lot of stuff through all the avenues with just a steady quarterback. But I do like Tua's potential. A lot of people have been down on him because of his arm. And I think, we can have that discussion. But I've gone over the studies. That 10 to 20 yard mark is the key. When you hit Waddle or you hit Tyreek Hill in that 10 to 20 mark, the chances of them breaking it into a 20 and 30 yard play is very high. And so if Tua has all the arm in the world, even if you don't like his arm, he has plenty of arm to attack that 20 to 10 yard area. And that's going to be critical. And if he can do that and use that quick release and really use that as a prime asset, talent tool to drive this offense with the quick play actions, the heavy runs, and then, maybe RPOs and all that stuff to attack that 10 to 20 yard mark, to get the ball in the hands of the receivers. This is going to be a very potent offense. But again, it's going to start with the line and the run game and to making sure he gets his reads and keys down. So there's potential for excellent quarterback play. Not that he's an excellent quarterback, but his skill set fits this. But if not, Teddy Bridgewater can man the system if we're blocking well and running well. So the offense looks really good to me if that offensive line goes. And the defense, same thing. Bringing back Boyer. On defensive line, one question. Rayquan Davis had a terrible year last year. I expected big things from him. He got injured in the knee, and he was just bullied most of the season. If he can come back and look like he did in 2020, his weight's up to about 330, which is what I think he needs to be, is that nose tackle, A-gap dominator. This will go a long way, because the weakness on this defense is their inability to stop the run, to keep blockers from getting to that second level and exposing our linebackers. If we can hold those blockers and let the linebackers get free, shoot those gaps, I think we'll be all right. But Davis is going to be an absolute key because there's nobody who can do his job. Zach Sealer, Christian Wilkins, I like them much better in 3 technique rather than in 0 and 1. Adam Butler's a good pass rusher. He can come in and play all along the line. Not a great run stopper, but a quality player. So the defensive line's a little thin, but high-level talent there. I mean, Christian Wilkins and Zach Sealer were top 6 DTs in the league last year. Amazing talent, but a little thin. Linebackers, Brennan Scholar. A lot of people don't realize this guy's huge. He's 6'4", 263. He comes in, he can play edge and then still drop. He was a very good player for us and playing very high level until he was injured. I love the fact that he's back. And this guy could maybe step forward and be a very key player for us. Duke Riley I like, even though I don't like his pass rush. Jerome Baker, I like his pass rush. I love his pass rush. His coverage is like okay. He kind of gets lost a little bit sometimes. His awareness isn't the greatest. His run stopping, he's a chaser. He's a dog rather than he can't engage blocks. He constantly gets dominated in the blocks. But I think they'll work around that. So good player, but I think a little overpaid. Unless they can get him to rush the pass some more. They need to get him in more blitzing situations. Landon Roberts, he's a leader. He's smart, ultra physical. But he can get engulfed because he's kind of small. Sam Egrovane, blitzer, kind of special teams guy. Calvin Munson, not bad. This unit has a lot of players, nothing elite. It's going to depend on that front, maintaining and controlling the blockers. But if they could do that, then I like what these guys can do. But I don't love it. I'm still a little concerned. Now, as far as our edge players, Van Ginkel struggled in coverage, great against the run, great against in pass rush, little small, but that coverage is a weakness. Then Phillips, he was very good in certain situations as far as the blitz, but he was dominated a lot in run defense. It's going to be critical for him to step forward. He doesn't have to be an elite run stopper, but he needs to be able to do it competently so he could be in a more situation, rushing downs. A little bit more tools in his pass rushing. A lot of the stuff, I got to do a whole year study on him. Really like the potential. He's a 6'6", 6'5", 266. A lot of potential, but both Van Ginkel and Phillips have weaknesses to their game that need to be elevated so they're not a hindrance. Emmanuel Ogbah is all-around superstar. The fact we brought him back is just as big as could be. This guy is critical. But then after that, you got Deshaun Hall, Darius Hodge, who's okay with Cincy. But this is another area where the Dolphins are going to have to really attack the offensive line and their ends with that 3rd and 4th pick because they are kind of thin. Ogbah goes down, or Phillips goes down, or Van Ginkel goes down. Don't feel comfortable with what's behind them. I like Brennan Scholar coming in and playing that dual role as linebacker and maybe edge player, but we still need some help on the D end. Quality talent there, and if Phillips and Van Ginkel could step their game up, it would be huge. Then there's the DBs. The Rowe, some people talk about getting rid of Rowe. Rowe is essential. We got to keep Rowe. Brandon Jones, Javon Howard, we all know how good they are. Brandon Jones is a really good pass rusher, good stopping the run, a little bit gets lost sometimes in coverage, but he's, just a strong safety guy. But these 3 guys really solidify that safety position. So removing Rowe, I think, would be a little dangerous. We've got to kind of trim stuff away and keep him in there along with Parker. I think it was Dudley Durong. I thought maybe we could possibly get rid of both those guys. I disagree on that. I mean, I could see it, but I kind of disagree. Then you got Elijah Campbell, Javari Davis, Keon Crossan, Feldman, Trill Williams, Redwine, Q Wilson. D'Angelo Ross with the Pats showed a little bit in very spotty situations, but that's the cornerback group that's backing Howard, Jones, and Needham. And there's lots of questions there. And Howard's not really officially signed. There's a little bit of a contract issue here. I think it will get resolved. Remember last year, it went deep into the season, but finally got resolved. But still, his knee and his health history has got to be a concern because we're very thin. Because Noah is a big miss that really hurt us. Byron Jones coming off surgery. He's 30 just about. Byron's, he plays well, but he's getting up there. And Needham is a quality player, but he can only play the nickel. So those boundary corners is another area where we're thin. And we still haven't resolved with Howard, though I think we will. But his knee has to be concerned because who's going to step up there? With what we run, you need corners who can play man and who can play that press coverage. And right now, I don't know if anybody can do it aside from Howard and Jones. So overall, we are a very good team with very high points, but a little thin in very critical areas. Now, we could get great breaks on injuries, and none of this will matter. But is going to be a little luck involved in how successful we are this year. Now, next year, Dolphins have 2 first-round picks, and that, to me, this season is like a play-around season. I want to see some high-level success, but I'm not really banking on them going to the conference championship. But by next year, they at least need to go to conference championship. But the good news is they'll have practically a full slate of picks, 2 first-round picks, and they can fill out this roster in some of these weak areas. But as far as this year goes, we are highly talented. There's real potential for us to take the Bills down at least 1 game and challenge them for the division late in the season if we can remain healthy. The problem is, if you look at Greer's history, all the way from 2011 to now. I'm not going to get into that. I'm just going to go in from him 2016 to now. He's drafted Kinley at guard, Strobridge at end, Curtis Weaver at end, Isaiah Prince at tackle, and Isaac Asiata at guard. That's their 4th and higher picks at these positions, at the interior line and at the edge position, and they've all struck out for one reason or another. Now, some people say, Prince is doing good. He was terrible here. He was stiff as a board, and even when he played with the Bengals, that's not who they wanted. He just kind of got in because of massive amounts of injuries, and they were highly thin, and he didn't really play well. He played okay, but it took him 2.5 years to develop, to even get to that point. And we don't have 2.5 years to develop players. So there's a little bit of concern by Greer's history, but the past success or failure doesn't determine future success or failure. You just have to deal with now. So this 3rd and 4th round draft pick is kind of like, but it really is key. So this is Curtis saying, thanks for staying to the end. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Comments, they mean the most. I want to hear what you have to think. Makes me look smarter down the road when you guys say something smart and I add it into my shows. I really appreciate it, though. I really do like the comments. Subscribes and likes help us with the Google overlords. And when the Google overlords are happy, our sponsors, Ace Per Head, they're happy, and it keeps me in business. And that's really what I'm really all about here. I like to stay, I'm really enjoying this. So I appreciate all the views, all the subscribes, the likes, the comments, and everything. Because without Ace Per Head, without you guys, I wouldn't be in business. So anyway, thanks again. This is Curtis saying, catch you next time. See you soon and be well. Building your own online sportsbook today by getting signed up with aceperhead.com service that'll allow you to book action on sports from all around the world.